Kevin Lee, being the smart little strategist that he is, has decided to insert himself in the conversation to be the guy that the UFC calls upon should something happen between Conor and Khabib. Something leading up to that fight so that he can step in and face one of them. I love it. I love it for multiple reasons. One, I'd love to see Kevin Lee fight either one of those guys, and Kevin Lee has been talking about Khabib for years. He's been calling him out, so that's not just some cash grab. Everybody's got their eye on Conor. No big surprise there. Kevin Lee's a top guy. He lives in Vegas. The fight's in Vegas. He's licensed in Vegas. I mean, there's just all sorts of things that make a lot of sense there. I don't think anything will happen between Conor and Khabib because I don't think they'll tell us. I think those guys are the right guys that'll walk out there no matter what. I think those are two guys that understand this isn't just about who's better when everything's great. It's about who's better under this skill set at this weight class on that day, which means if you don't feel good on that day, the agreement is still who's better at this weight with this rule set on that day. So I don't think either one of those guys has got chicken in them. So I don't think we got a big problem there, but okay. Now you're talking about Kevin Lee. That's interesting to me. And it was smart, and it was forward thinking, and that's things that Kevin Lee's known for. So I really liked it. And then what else has happened is nobody else has come out and said the same thing. I mean, Kevin wins that position in my mind by default, if nothing else. Must be present to win. He put himself out there. I haven't heard anybody else do that. And I'll tell you one that's interesting, though, because the UFC ultimately, I think, very confident, will pick somebody. Somebody will be put in that position, much like we're seeing with Usman now, as it pertains to the Till and Woodley fight. Somebody will be put in that position of given a contract, told to go into training camp, hire the coaches, do everything you have to do, be on weight, be licensed, do the medicals, be ready. Be ready to step in. If it happens, here's what your participation financially will be, and if it does not happen, you're getting a financial payout for this too. They're starting to do that. We're seeing it with Usman. So they will pick somebody. I would think that it would be Kevin Lee, but I will offer you, Tony Ferguson just recently said he's ready. I don't know where he's at with that knee. All I know is what he said. And I got to take him at his word, and it was also backed up with a little bit of video footage. Tony does these crazy workouts, man. I don't even know how he thinks to do them. I mean, he's throwing kicks and punches and then goes into breakdancing. They're crazy workouts. Then he throws more kicks and punches and then goes into gymnastics. It is like full body movement. He's working everything. His flexibility, his strength, his balance, his timing. I got to imagine he's running his own practice when he does that. It's not a situation where a coach is going to say, 1, 2, 3, 10, backflip. It's got to 1, 2, 3, 10, backflip, breakdance, back up to, it's just not. I think that Tony just goes in and gets a workout in. But through watching those crazy workouts, there is no doubt about it. His body is solid, right? I mean, he's not hiding anything by just throwing some punches and throwing them really fast. No, the legs are working, the back, the shoulders, the neck. He works everything. You could go watch his videos that he puts out, and you can tell he means it. And he looks lean. Everything looks right. So if we're just going to speculate anyway, if we're all in agreement that Conor Khabib is going to happen, in most likelihood, but we're also smart enough to know, just in case, let's have a plan, it does get interesting. Is Tony available? Is Tony an available guy to step in? I think even Kevin Lee would tell. Kevin Lee was such a good sport after that fight. Kevin Lee's like, look, whatever Tony and I had, man, we squashed it, and he won, and that's that. I think even Kevin Lee might tell you, well, I mean, if Tony came back, he did have a title. He beat me for a title. He left with a title. I get it. Let him have the shot, and maybe that is Tony's way back. Tony wasn't in the best gracious of the organization when he had to pull out, against Khabib in the first place. Tripped over that cord. Now Thanks to me, quite frankly. Thanks to me. I told you guys the rest of the story on that cord with Tony. Some time's gone by. But, I mean, they did take his title and didn't say wonderful things, but they were irritated. You get it. They were irritated. This might be, I mean, he is one of those guys that just might need a way back that is a little unconventional, and this might be it. But I haven't heard himself go as far as Kevin and say, I'm going into training camp, and I'm going to be ready on that date. And I don't know if that's something that Tony wants to do. Tony might look at that as a slide. I don't know. He might. He might look at that and go, hey, man, that's a slide. I'm not filling in. I'm not the guy in the wings. I'm a main eventer on a full contract with a big purse and points on the back. I mean, I don't know. They did take a belt from him that he never lost. I would imagine that's going to frustrate a guy. But I think since we are operating in the world of speculation on that anyway, which I think is fun, I get a kick out of the fact that Usman could be stepping in and taking on Till or taking on Woodley. I get a kick out of that. I like that parody. I love what ifs. I love them. I think you guys do too. We're right. We're all in on that together, right? Don't we like what ifs? Sure. I think the what ifs of if Kevin Lee was to step in against Khabib, who Kevin's been calling out for a long time. Everybody was scared of Khabib except one guy, and that's Kevin Lee. And I don't know what it is that Kevin sees, but he sees something. And, of course, Kevin versus Conor. Sure. And I also agree that let's make that our second option. Let's get Khabib and Conor in there together. But now what if all of a sudden I say, well, and now Tony Ferguson is a possible one? I mean, we could at least, not for nothing, but we could have a whole hell of a lot of fun making discussions. And if anybody was thinking of booking a ticket and flying out there, but well, you know, I don't know. I don't know if I want to buy the tickets. A lot of these cards fall apart. It sure is expensive. But you found out that, yeah, go ahead and let it fall apart. We're just going to throw Tony Ferg in. World Championship's going to be contested that night. I think you have a lot of fun.